Singapore is often called one of the richest countries in the world. According to the IMF, Singapore GDP per capita is about 93,000 US dollars, which places it as the fourth highest globally. On paper, this suggests that Singapore is a nation of exceptional prosperity and wealth creation. Not just that, the UBS Global Wealth Reports 2025 shows that the average wealth per adult in Singapore stands at nearly 441,000 US dollars. In fact, Singapore also has one of the highest millionaire densities in the world. In 2024, it was estimated that around 244,800 Singaporeans have more than 1 million US dollars. And yet, if you ask any average Singaporean on the street whether they actually feel rich or not, they'd be like, So, what's really going on here? If the numbers show that Singapore is rich, why do ordinary Singaporeans often feel otherwise? One major reason Singaporeans don't always feel rich lies in how the wealth is distributed. So, even though the mean wealth per adult in Singapore is an impressive 441,000 US dollars, the median wealth, a better indicator of what the typical Singaporean holds, is only about 113,000 US dollars. This massive gap between mean and median tells us that much of Singapore's wealth is concentrated at the very top, while the majority of Singaporeans have significantly less. To put this into context, UBS gave Singapore a Gini coefficient, or wealth inequality score, of 0.7. This is a level higher than many advanced economies, such as the UK, South Korea, Australia, and Japan. Or, to put it simply, Singapore ranks among the most unequal countries in the developed world when it comes to wealth. Additionally, while the often quoted figure that Singapore's median gross monthly income of 5.5k sounds high at first glance, this number includes employer CPF contributions and only applies to full-time employed residents, and it doesn't account for others like freelancers and part-timers. If we dig deeper into SingStats data, the picture becomes even clearer. Out of roughly 2.3 million employed residents aged 15 and above, nearly 462,000 workers, or almost 20% of the workforce, earn less than 2,005 a month. Meanwhile, at the other end of the scale, about 7% of the workforce earn $15,000 or more a month. The single largest group of workers sat in the $3,000 to $3,999 bracket, with about 332,000 people. This means that while Singapore is home to hundreds of thousands of millionaires and boasts some of the highest average wealth figures in the world, the reality for most working Singaporeans is quite different. It's no surprise that many are exploring ways to supplement their income. If you are someone looking for relatively low risk, less volatility, or simply wants to diversify your investments, you might want to check out the Income Plus category on Moomoo SG. You have probably heard of Moomoo's Cash Plus, but the main difference between Cash Plus and Income Plus is that the funds under Income Plus can potentially give higher returns. These funds primarily invest in bonds and certificates of deposits, assets that typically have low default risk and volatility. According to Moomoo's historical data as of February 2025, the maximum drawdown of the Income Plus products listed on their website has not exceeded 0.3% over the past 2 years. To check out Income Plus, just open the Moomoo app, tap on Discover, then Wealth, then scroll down till you see Income Plus. From there, you can tap on any fund to dive deeper into the details. New users who sign up to Moomoo SG will get to earn up to $1,315 worth of welcome rewards when you fulfill the terms and conditions, which includes a $60 worth of Nvidia share. Plus, enjoy zero commission for US, Hong Kong, and Singapore stock trading, as well as zero commission trades on US options every month for up to 100 contracts. For more details of the promotions, do refer to the link promotion page in the description below. Then, on the other side of the income, we have expenses. And this is where the wealth gap becomes even clearer, because while wages have been rising, the cost of living, especially for essentials like food, housing, and healthcare, has been climbing even faster. According to the Ministry of Manpower, total wages, including employer CPF contributions for resident employees, grew between 5.2% to 6.5% over the past 3 years. Sounds impressive, right? But when adjusted for inflation, real wage gains were far more modest, ranging between just 0.4% to 3.2% in the same period. In other words, despite healthy-looking wage growth, many households are still struggling to keep pace with everyday costs. Take food for example. Back in 2019, a simple plate of chicken rice would cost about $3.40, but by 2023, it had jumped to around $4.15. That's a 22% increase in 4 years, far above the headline inflation rate. And it's not just chicken rice. Other hawker staples, which are once seen as the cheapest daily meals for working class families, are also creeping up in price. Popular dishes like nasi biryani and char siu rice saw year-on-year price increases between 4.8% and 8.3%, depending on the venue. What used to be an affordable daily option for the average Singaporeans is now becoming increasingly expensive. This matters because food accounts for close to 20% of the total household expenditure, so even modest increases in hawker prices will directly translate into less disposable income, especially for lower and middle income families. Besides food, housing has also become a major source of financial pressure. From 2020 to 2024, HDB resale prices surged by around 50%, far outpacing wage growth for many younger families. Renters too have been squeezed, with median rental costs rising by double digits before moderating slightly in 2024. Not just that, rising healthcare costs are adding to the financial strain too. In 2023, the average household healthcare spending rose from $320 in 2017-2018 to $474, driven primarily by outpatient receipts. On a national level, the increase is even clearer. Healthcare spending per capita rose from $2,894 in 2019 to $4,321 in 2022. There is a sharp jump within just 3 years. Looking ahead, insurers are projecting that medical costs will climb by nearly 12% in 2025, fueled by rising demand, an aging population, and more advanced treatments. Now, to be fair, government assistance has helped cushion some of these rising costs. In 2024, households received an average of $7,825 per member in benefits, while those in 1 and 2 room HDB flats received around $16,805 per person. This come in the form of GST vouchers, CPF top-ups, U-Save rebates, and workfare payouts. Such transfers help reduce Singapore's Gini coefficient from 0.435 before transfers to 0.364 after transfers. This is a rather meaningful narrowing of inequality. Another big reason why Singaporeans don't feel rich is because much of their net worth is locked up in property. According to SingStats, residential property assets made up about 43% of household assets in 2022, compared to just 35% in financial assets such as cash, deposits, and investments. On paper, this looks impressive, especially when HDB and private property values rise. But in reality, this wealth is illiquid. It cannot be easily used to pay for groceries, healthcare, or daily expenses. That's why many Singaporeans are often described as asset rich but cash poor. On top of that, debt is another key reason why Singaporeans don't feel financially secure. The OCBC Financial Wellness Index 2023 revealed that most Singaporeans are struggling with unsecured debt management, with a growing share of individuals rolling over unpaid credit card balances each month. This creates a cycle where high interest charges eat into disposable income, leaving households with less room to save or invest. Other surveys echo the same trend. Credit Counselling Singapore reported that credit card debt remains the top reason people seek debt assistance, with many citing overspending and rising living costs as the main factors. But perhaps the biggest reason Singaporeans don't feel rich is because true wealth isn't just about money, it is about freedom. When most people imagine being rich, they think of luxury condos, branded clothes, or expensive cars. But the real definition of wealth is freedom, the ability to do what you want, when you want, without worrying about financial consequences. And that is what many Singaporeans lack. Instead, they feel stuck in their jobs, worried about retrenchment, or fearful of quitting to pursue something different. This was highlighted in an Asian Boss video, where Singaporeans said being rich wasn't about having lots of money, it was about having freedom from financial stress and the ability to comfortably meet both needs and wants. The reality is that many Singaporeans are still in the early stages of financial progress. One way to think about this is through the 5 stages of wealth. At the most basic level is financial stability, where a person can meet daily expenses and avoid bad debt. From there comes financial security, marked by having an emergency fund and essential insurance to protect against life's uncertainties. The next stage is financial flexibility, being able to cover essentials while still having enough left over to make lifestyle choices without constant worry. Beyond that lies financial independence, where passive income from investments can fully cover living expenses, giving someone the option to step away from work entirely. The final and rarest stage is financial freedom, where money is no longer a limitation, true wealth in the form of complete choice. Most Singaporeans today fall somewhere between financial security and financial flexibility. They have steady jobs, contribute regularly to CPF, and may own property, but they lack the level of independence or flexibility that creates the feeling of being truly wealthy. For many, wealth remains something that exists on paper, rather than something that they can truly experience in daily life. So how can we fix this? Other than just pray that the government gives us more CDC vouchers? For starters, we can simply get richer by trying to increase our income. Okay, I know this is easier said than done. And I sound like the guy who says, you are not rich, just get rich lah. But the fact of the matter is, there's only so much you can save before you go crazy. At some point, you will have to increase your income in order to grow your wealth. If you look at the labour force in Singapore 2024 reports, there's a clear wage gap between degree and non-degree holders, ranging from about $1,000 to as much as $5,000 across different age groups. This highlights how education and skills play a huge role in the long-term earning power, especially in Singapore's competitive job market. But even if you didn't start out with a degree, it doesn't mean you are stuck. Schemes like the SkillsFuture Mid-Career Enhanced Subsidy allow older workers to receive up to 90% subsidies for tertiary courses, making it much easier to reskill and pivot into higher paying industries. That said, income alone isn't enough. We also need to rethink about how we build wealth. There's a saying, the first $100,000 is made by saving, but the first $1 million is made by investing. And that couldn't be truer for Singapore. According to SingStats, currency and deposits made up 25% of household assets, while shares and securities like equities and unit trusts only made up around 10%. This shows that we are over-invested in property and bank deposits, while under-invested in financial assets that can actually generate passive income. Rising home values may look good on paper, but they don't pay for groceries. Similarly, keeping large sums in savings accounts feels safe, but over time, inflation will eat away at the value. To progress from financial flexibility to independence, Singaporeans need to channel more wealth into equities, REITs, and diversified funds, assets that provide liquidity, growth, and long-term income. Finally, we must confront something less obvious: our tendency to compare ourselves to others. We live in a world flooded by social media and advertising, where we are constantly bombarded with images of people driving luxury cars, holidaying in Europe, or dining at Michelin-starred restaurants. This endless stream of curated lifestyles can make us feel inadequate, trapped, or left behind. Worse, it often drives us to overspend in order to keep up, while undermining our financial progress. So with that all being said, maybe the real question isn't, are Singaporeans richer? But rather, what do we want wealth to mean? For some, it might mean financial independence, the ability to cover all your expenses without needing a job. For others, it could be about comfort, owning a home, raising a family, and not worrying about tomorrow's bills. And for many, it is simply about freedom, the freedom to make choices without money being the deciding factor. Because wealth isn't just about statistics or how much we have compared to others. It is about how much control we have over our time, our decisions, and our lives. And perhaps when we stop chasing numbers and start defining wealth on our own terms, that's when we will finally begin to feel truly rich. Anyway, that's all for this video. Hope you found this useful. Like, share, and subscribe, as I'll be posting new videos every week.